Subscribe if you like medieval baseball. Alright. Oh, what are we talking about today? Well, as you can see by this little note on the side, this title is way too goddamn long, and you know what that means. It's shit. So what is it? It's throwing potions at 160 kilometers per hour. I will become the strongest adventurer by throwing a universal recovery medicine? Whoa! Why do you need that much of a title? Like, cool it. Cool it. You can shorten that a lot. Just, I throw potions really fast? I don't know, man. Just, anything's better than that. That's terrible. Okay. I'm gonna just start out with the general rating. Like, 5. It's mediocre. I don't want to say it's... I don't really want to say it's bad because it didn't make me like upset reading it or anything, but it is one of those like gimmick series where here's the one gimmick and we're just going to keep doing this gimmick, and it's a gimmick that's nonsensical in this case, so it's like really freaking, for lack of a better word, brain dead. Like, what is this? Yeah, so what's the gist? Well, it's one of those stories where, like, the main character gets betrayed by his party. They basically leave him to die. He ends up running into this girl who's also having a really rough time. He helps her, she helps him, and it ends up becoming this, like, oh, they form a party and, you know, they like each other and blah, 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 right? Relatively generic idea. Seen it a million times, right? Like getting betrayed and then having to come back and, you know, show your mettle. So he finds out, like, oh man, I can throw my potions really fast and like kill dragons by breaking their necks. Like just snapping their freaking necks, which is like the most inane idea. Like, what? Why? Where? I don't even know why you would think of this as an author, but okay. So he honed his potion throwing skills by being so accurate that he would throw it into other people's mouths so they would drink it from a distance. I don't know. I don't even understand the logic. He was with his party, of course they betray him, and it turns out they all suck, because that's how all these stories work. I'm not really sure, like, he didn't use his potions to kill things before, he just used them on other people. So I'm not really sure why his party is so much worse just from losing him, to the point where they're, like, going down multiple tiers. Seems a little weird to me, not going to lie. It seems like it's just trying to further a plot point, but, whatever. As far as the idea of throwing potions, I think it's extremely silly. You would think if he's throwing it so fast, these little, like, glass bottles would be shattering into a million pieces, and I also don't understand why they would hurt any sort of powerful creature, really, from chucking a glass bottle at them, but whatever. No, don't get me wrong, like, that's a freaking fast potion, but it's still... There's, like, no weight to it, so, like, even if he's throwing it that fast, I'm not really sure why it matters that much. Also, it seems to be a skill, because he's able to throw things that are potion-like at high speed, so I don't really understand how that works. They didn't really mention it. But that's probably the biggest problem with this series. They don't explain anything. He just can do things. As far as, like, what this character's gist is, well... people don't like her because of her black hair, and they think she's, like, evil, because there's a whole bunch of bad connotations that are associated with black hair in this world. But he doesn't seem to really care, so she ends up saying, like, I want to date you and marry you. And then I don't know how he misunderstands this, but she literally says, let's get married. And then he's like, oh yeah, it's a joke. And then she repeatedly says, let's get married. And then he just, for some reason, at one point is like, I thought you were joking this whole time. It's like, what? She repeatedly told you, let's get married. Why would that be a joke? I don't even understand. Like, it's just, it's like, I would understand maybe she says it once in a joking manner, but every single time she said it like super seriously, and you're just like, clearly she means it. So I don't know. I guess it's meant to be a misunderstanding, but it's probably the most dense misunderstanding I've seen. And this guy is normally like not that bad, so it's kind of like an outlier. I don't understand why he would think that. I don't really get it. It's super weird. But yeah, like the basic idea is they end up partying together because, and by partying I mean joining up as a group, because you know no one wants to be with her because of her hair, and he's seen as weak for some reason. So they end up joining each other in a group. She wants to marry him. Just generic isekai, like haha, that's silly. Of course, like they get revenge on that other group in a way. Like they challenge him to a fight because he's about to become an S rank. Of course he wins because he's the main character, and just I still think all of it's a little silly, but whatever. I think you kind of you know going into the idea that it's going to be silly. There's also random moments that they'll just like introduce a character that just knows everything and just can steal anything and just whatever, and it's like I don't understand the logic here. Like there needs to be some level of logic behind the actions of characters that's just not there. His abilities are like way too OP as well in this world that like they don't even make sense to certain degrees. I feel like he has like potions that like home to another potion or something, so he's like throwing them and using them as like missiles. But at the end of the day, I'm still considering, what are these potion bottles that they just we've seen them break. Like he's been able to like use them to block attacks from like swords and things like that, and they break. So like why would they hit like a dragon's scales and not break? I don't understand the logic here. Like it's just like one of the most silly abilities, to the point where like it doesn't even, it's just not, it's like there's just no sense. I'm like, why is this, why would this ever work? I don't understand. I don't know, it's just weird. As far as like storytelling goes, it's relatively just linear, you know. Gets betrayed, he meets the other girl, then they slowly build up their party, everyone likes them, they get revenge. It's the most generic plot line ever. If you've read a revenge story, it's like any other one. As far as like the actions, I mean, there doesn't really seem to be as much of a comeuppance for basically saying that like the main character was like dead. Like the other party said that, but they didn't really seem to get that much of a punishment for it, really. Like they had some minor punishments, but it seems like if you literally said someone was dead, and I don't know, I feel like that'd be a little extreme. As far as like her black hair being thought of poorly, I mean they go to other places and it's seen as being fine, so even that doesn't really hold up that well. She even says like, oh, I can't believe you're still with me even though I'm so discriminated against. And it's like, you really don't get that much of discrimination from what I've seen. I don't know. It's just nothing special. Boring, bad, whatever. Okay, let's do the SAE. What is the SAE? Well, it's story, art, enjoyment. Story-wise, like a 3. It's terrible. Art-wise, I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad, but I also don't think it's good. It also really doesn't stand out in terms of designs. I'll give it a 6. Like, it's okay. Enjoyment-wise, because it's so bad, I'll give it like a 7. It was enjoyably bad. overall, yeah, I mean, I think around a 5, pretty fair. It's, again, like, it's not egregious, but, like, the story's real bad. The art is not giving you any, like, bonuses here, and as far as enjoyment goes, really the only enjoyment is just seeing how bad it is. So I think, like, a 5 is a pretty fair rating. Like, it's not going to be your favorite, it's not special, and I wouldn't go out of my way to read it. It's just silly, bad fun that, like, if you have nothing better to do, it might be somewhat enjoyable. But, yeah, I think that's about it. I'd appreciate it if you could like, comment, subscribe. Maybe leave another story you want me to read down below, even if I read it already again. I don't really care. And, yeah, I'll see ya.